Another important topic, that is functional requirement documentation, which is very important for all the business analysts over there. Before getting into the video, I would request you all to like, share and subscribe our channel so that we will create such more useful content. And let's start the video now. Yes. So in our last session, we have discussed about business requirement documentation, and we have outlined the live example how to prepare the business requirement documentation. If you have not watched it, please watch that in our playlist so that you get a better idea about what all documents that a business analyst should be aware of. So let's start. What is functional requirement documentation? So functional requirement document is a document that actually outlines various functions that are required to develop a software system. And who prepares this? Business analyst. Business analyst prepares this, and in some cases, you might need the help of system analyst as well in preparing this documentation. And this basically depends on the organizational practices. You might also involve with the customer while preparing this document in order to get view of few functionalities which you need to include in. So what this document consists of? It consists of both functional and non-functional requirements. So basically, BRD is a document that describes about high-level requirements, business requirements, and whereas the functional requirements gives a granular level of the detail that has been broken down from the business requirements, and it helps in displaying what kind of data that a user should be able to see when he's interacting with the system. And what is functional requirement? Functional requirements are the requirements which says what the software system has to do when the user is interacting with the system. And what are non-functional requirements? Non-functional requirements are the requirements which helps how the system has to react when how the system has to perform how the software system has to perform. So functional requirements basically indicates what it has to do, and non-functional or how it has to do. The functional requirements are specified by the user, whereas non-functional requirements are specified by your technical lead or a solution architect or the development team. So functional requirements help in understanding the behavior of the system, and non-functional requirements helps in understanding the performance of the system. So these both requirements are embedded in your functional requirement documentation. And who actually uses this document? This document is used by the technical leads and the testing team and all other project implementation team members. And when it is prepared in the planning phase and shows all the details about how the system has to behave. So let's see what we need to consider while preparing this functional requirement document. Whenever you are writing a functional requirement document, for the first thing you need to remember it, whatever the functional requirement you're specifying, it should map to the business requirement that has been mentioned. That is the high level goal that has been mentioned in your BRD. And when you're writing a functional requirement, you should always remember these four steps or attributes that you need to make sure it is presented in your document. The first one is positive flow. And we will see all these attributes in detail when we are discussing about the document template that we are going to present in a short time. And so in a brief, I'll give you what is a positive flow. Positive flow is nothing but what actually system wants to give you. And let's think we are booking a flight ticket. So when you say you're booking a flight ticket, the positive flow should be the customer has to log in into the account, and then he has to give all the fields that are necessary to book the flight as per his interest, and the system has to take all the fields, validate it, and then it has to display the flights that the customer needs. It means that you have given a specific date and you have given your destination and source, and the price details as well, the economy or the business class. Then, or take considering all these details, the system should show the result of the all the flights as per the customer request. When everything is in flow, the when everything is positive, and what is the result? So that is your positive flow or the basic flow. And then you should also mention about the exceptional scenario. Exceptional scenario is nothing but if something is not there, what the customer has given is not, the system is not able to provide those details. So what output message the system has to convey to the user? So that is your exceptional scenario. For example, I have requested to book a flight from Delhi to Bangalore on so and so date. Maybe the flights are not available on that day. So what the system has to display? It should display saying that, sorry, the specified result, the specified search do not have the flights on this particular day. Or if I forget the password, and I am not, I have logged in with invalid credentials. So what is an exceptional scenario in that case? So that you need to mention for each and every functional requirement. The data dictionary. The data dictionary is nothing but how you want to show the data. I mean that how the you want user to input the data for that software system. For example, you have given a calendar field. You want it to be a free text, or you wanted to select the date from the calendar that being displayed, or you want it in MMDDYY format or DDMMYY format. So in this way, and how your password one needs to be, it should have alphanumeric or only alphabets that the system need to consider. And when you click on submit button, how you want that submit button should be, or create button it should look like, and or if you want to select something, you want it to be a checkbox or radio buttons. So that is what the data dictionary as well you need to mention in your functional documents. And then non-functional requirements. As I said, the non-functional requirements are related to the performance of the system. So you can say the security, the availability, the capability, and then the capacity and the load details. All these things comes under non-functional requirements. And even though your look and feel of the software system, the font size, or whatever may be the things, so that would be your non-functional requirements. So functional requirements or always show the flow of the data between the screens. This is what you need to remember. The functional requirements shows the flow of the data between different screens, whereas non-functional requirements helps in understanding the performance of the system. So this is a major difference between the functional and non-functional requirements. And when you are writing a functional requirement document, you need to mention all these 4 attributes so that the developer would understand how the system needs to behave in which scenario and what he needs to consider while writing the code. Now let's see a live example. Now let's see a functional requirement template for any project. We have already discussed this project in our BRD document. If you have not watched the BRD document video, please go in the watch list and in the playlist and watch the BRD document. But still, I give you a brief overview of the project that we would be discussing. As we all know, in a pandemic situation, we need to get vaccinated so that it is not spread from one person to another person, and this was mandatory for us to enter any movie halls or public places. So it's very difficult for us to carry a vaccination certificate every time. So remember this, keeping this point in the view, the Covaxin company has decided to develop a software where a person, when he gets vaccinated, update his status by just scanning the QR code and showing that that QR code while entering into any mall, and when it is scanned, it shows whether the person is vaccinated or not. So this is a brief project overview that we would be discussing for writing a functional requirement document. And yeah, it's similar. It's similar app that we all use for booking our tickets and everything. So this is how your QR code looks, and you need to scan the QR code. If he's vaccinated, then he can enter into the mall, or he if it's not vaccinated, it's you cannot enter. So let's see how the document looks like. So functional requirement documentation, as all the documents have in the starting the project name. Even in a similar way, we need to give the project name, and then you have to mention the details of the version who is being created, the functional requirement document. And the second page would be with your date of with your approvals table, who all needs to give a sign off before finalizing this document. And then you need to have your date, version, and the document changes. When you are writing this document, there would be many changes and the reviews happening, and based on that, you need to update this table accordingly. So in the first section would be about introduction. Introduction is nothing but how your what is a project, what you need to give a project summary. Here we are trying to develop a covaxin, that in which more pharmaceutical industries would be developing a vaccination with a QR code that is with an ID that matches to the ID of the vaccination QR code. And this they are going to tie up with the doctors as well. And when the merchant and when the person gets vaccinated, they need to show this QR code to the merchandise, whom in which mall or a movie theater they are entering, and based on that, they would be, based on their vaccination status, they would be allowing it. This is a project summary, brief project summary. So background is similar, basically saying that why are you so much interested in developing this project? What made you to come to take this initiative? So in a present pandemic situation, it is very difficult to know who is vaccinated or not. So that's the reason we are developing an app which makes the life of an individual very easy, and even the merchandisers also easy. So that is what the simple background for taking up the initiative of this project. So next is the business drivers. So business drivers is like what are the drivers that you're considering to make this project important? Okay. It could be like, it could be your financial eh, financial thing, financial outputs, or operational outputs, or whatever may be the lifestyle outputs, whatever may be what are the major drivers for you to consider that this project would be a success. So in that way, when we see this app, we are the first company to develop this app. Monopoly, definitely a first mover advantage would be there. And then as it is very important for all of us, so we can see a wide range of usage of this app, because it's very mandatory for all of us to get vaccinated. And then as we are the initiatives, we see there is a lot of scope for the doctors and pharmacies, and even the users downloading this app and getting tied to this app. And also we can see there is a future, even the merchandisers also want to make their life easy, and we see they also widely accepting this app. So these are the few business drivers, and based on this, as we are the first movers, we definitely will have a financial profit margin or more. And there are many other things which we can consider while accepting this project. So these are the few things which I have mentioned. You can think of more as well. And what is the project scope? So the scope would be something, we have already developed iOS version. Now we are developing an Android version. That is the scope. And then there are few things which we need to consider. We are developing a login module for the merchandise and then the customer. And the development of the QR code is in our scope as well. And we would be the refreshing of the QR code for every 30 seconds. And as of now we are having a say in the same app. We will have both merchandise screen and then customer screen. So these are the few things which we can consider that in scope functionality. So what are all the functions that you think that you are going to develop in the present project? That is your in scope functionality. The out scope functionality would be something that I have already said. We are not, we have to develop a QR code we have to print a QR code on the paper and then give to the user once they get vaccinated. So maybe that is not in our that is not our scope. And then we need to develop uh, SDK for different merchandises. I mean, like, every merchandise would be having their own app. Book My Show will have their own app. PVR has their own app, and then SpiceJet would be having their own flight app, and Make My Trip their so we are not considering the integration of all these apps. Our app with the integration of all these apps. They have to use our app as a standalone app in order to make sure that to get the status of the vaccination. So that is not in our scope present. Maybe we can think in future. So that is one thing. And here you have system perspective, which shows that what would be when you're considering in developing this project, you might come across various constraints that you need to consider, and maybe you have lack of those resources in terms of technology or budget or in terms of your systems environment. So you can, when you brainstorm with your technical leads and system analysts and everyone, you might come up of these things, and then you have to mention over here what are the system perspective things that you can think of might be constraint, I mean, might be hampering the progress of the project, or what you can foresee that you're lacking in your present scenario to make sure to make this project a success. So those things you can mention here. And business process overview, if you are developing if you're developing a software for already existing process, you need to give a flow chart or what is swimline flow chart or process flow chart over here, as is how at present the business is carrying out, how does the process is looking at the present. So that you need to mention here. And then the future flow, the to be flow, once the system has been implemented, how do you see the process, what are the improvements? So you can see the difference between as is and to be process in this section. So here I have as this is a new initiative, there is no link between the all the environmental variables we are considering here. The customer, doctor, everyone has their standalone process. So that's the reason we have not given over there. And but here when we see to be, there is a connection between doctor, customer and the merchandise. And we can see how the information or the process flows between these three systems. So that is your business process flow. And now comes your functional requirements. So functional requirements, as I said, they say what system needs to behave, what system has to do. So what system has to do when user interacts with the software system. The first thing is you can outline all the modules, and this should go in line with your BRD, business requirement needs. And then you outline all the modules. As I said, when you're writing the functional requirement documentation, you should always keep these four attributes. One is your basic flow, negative exceptional flow, data dictionary, and non-functional requirements for all these functional requirements. So the first thing is creating a customer account. So you should write each and individuals each step for each functional requirement. So first the customer should be able to search an app from the Play Store, and then he should be able to download it on the mobile phone. And then when he tries to create an account, he should have a valid government ID. So once he gives that government ID, the application needs to verify whether the government ID is valid or not. After the verification of the government ID, one-time password is sent to your registered mobile number. Once the password is verified, the customer is redirected to the next page to set the password. Now customer needs to set the password. Once the password is set, then customer clicks on create account. When the account, when everything is correct, and all the information provided by the user is valid, then the account is created. Now the customer is redirected to the welcome page of the application. So this is a basic flow if everything goes well. So what is an exceptional flow? In if he What happens when he actually downloads the application, then he installs his in mobile phone, and he gives the government ID. And now the ID which he has given is not valid. So what should the system do it? Okay, what the system has to do it? Then the system has to respond saying that please provide a valid government ID. Okay, and he should say, if you are not giving a valid government ID, the account is not created. This would be one exceptional flow. And the other exceptional flow is when the mobile user does not have the mobile which he is registered with the ID. What he should do? He should have an option saying that send the OTP to my email account. So this would be another exceptional flow. I have just given two exceptional flows. You can think of many other exceptional flows as well here. Just for our understanding, I have just given these two. And now the updating the vaccination status. Now he creates an account. He has an account. Goes to the doctor. He gets vaccinated, and then what he should do? He gets a QR code on the paper, and once the code is scanned, the QR code is scanned. He does this ID. The ID on the farm vaccine given and the ID behind the QR code should get matched, and then it should update the status saying that he's vaccinated. Vaccination status should be updated. So that would be a basic flow. What should be an exceptional flow? In case sometimes maybe there would the print would not be proper, or maybe the QR code of the could be extended. Something manual error would happen. So what should happen in such case? The app should display a message saying that please contact your customer care. So this is an exceptional flow. You can think of another exceptional flow saying that the vaccination and the person has to scan the QR code within the 24 hours, and once he gets vaccinated. If he is not scanning within 24 hours, maybe he would forget. He had forgotten and he has not scanned, or he had lost his QR code paper. So that would be another exceptional flow which we can think of what he need to do in such cases. So in that way, we need to write the exceptional flows here. And now the another thing is adding the child profile. So the account can be created only who has valid government ID and above 18 years. So now who are below 18 years, they need to be added to the guardian's account. So what they have to do, how it should happen. So now the guardian has to log in into the account, and there would be a persona on the uh, app, and then he should click on to the persona and select the family members tab. Once he select the family members tab, he can enter all these details, and there would be a toggle button as well. If he ons the toggle button, the child can also use the this app on his phone. So this is a one thing which we can discuss about. So these are the things which he has to do. And then use once he enters all the details, he clicks on add, and the child account is created and added. So the if everything goes well, this is a basic flow. So what is an exceptional flow? If an user, if the user is trying to add a, add a person who is above 18 years, maybe he would be trying to add his parent details or spouse details or friends details, then the app should throw a error saying that only the children, only the users below 18 years can be added to your primary account. So that would be an exceptional flow. So, and for everything, there should be business rules as well. So, first, for make this app valid and for make this app to run, you should have the business rules as well, so that all these things the developer considers and develops the app. Primary account should be created only to the individuals who have valid government ID. That is one thing. And the secondary account can be created to the individuals who are below 18 years. And QR code should be scanned within 24 hours of vaccination taken. Only 3 login attempts are allowed. QR code needs to be refreshed for every 30 seconds. Child account should be logged with all the other features when it is created. Guardian details should be displayed on the child profile page. So these are some of the business rules for all the functional requirements which we have just discussed, and these should be mentioned in your document as well, so that the developer will be aware of what things he need to consider while developing these functionalities. So non-functional requirements. As I said, non-functional requirements help in understanding the performance of the system and how the system should react, how the system should perform. So we have non-functional requirements like, security, performance requirements, capability, load, availability, and all these are comes under your non-functional requirements. So for the functional requirements, which I have just mentioned, access security would be one non-functional requirement. So this table gives your detail who can access what and what permissions the parent can have and child can have. So the parent can have add, edit, delete, and view options, whereas child can have only the view option enabled. So this is the access level permission, and then we have availability. So availability is something that how the what is the availability of an app. What is the availability of an app? So the Covaxin is expected to available for every 365 days, 24 hours, and 7 days a week. Maximum downtime you can allow is only 2 hours in a week. So this is these non-functional requirements are basically provided by your solution architects or technical leads. So you can sit with them and discuss what non-functional requirements you can come up for those functional requirements you're writing, and then based on that you can mention over here. But make sure most of the times the non-functional requirements are the requirements which are most neglected by the business analyst. You should also give an equal importance about for the non-functional requirements to be mentioned. So these are the things you need to consider, while writing the functional requirement documentation. And now comes the data dictionary. So when you're for the create account, you need to give your user ID. What is the field type? It should be a text box. And what is the business rule for that? Must allow only characters. And error message if you are not giving, what is an error message that displays if you are not giving a valid ID? So, and then password, how you want the password to look like, it should have alphanumeric or alphabet values in that way. So please, and what error message you need to give it. And submit button. So business rule, what should be your business rule when you're submitting all the details? And yeah, and this is what, how your submit element, data element should look like, what is the field type you are giving, it's a button or what you want to give. So system should validate whether before, what is a business rule for the submit function. So it has to validate whether the user ID is active and exists in the use database or not. So these are the different things which you need to consider. Okay, if the ID and password is validated successfully, then only he can log in into the page. If he has given a wrong password, then he cannot enter. So these are the few business rules which you have to think for each functional requirement you're mentioning over here. And then cancel button, how you want to look this cancel button look like. These are the things. And you need to attach few mockups as well here. So as I see, for adding the family member functional requirement, so you have a mockup here. As I said, you need to click on the persona and then you have family member tab, and based on the family member tab you have to provide given details. And as I said, if you want to give a login access in absence of the guardian, here is a toggle button which you have to enable. So for all the functional requirements which you have mentioned over there, you need to provide supporting mockups, so that prototypes of mockups, whatever may be, so that the user can, so that the developer can have a clear view how it should look like, how the software system should look like. And as I said, when you're when the child installs the app, how does it look like? I said you have to mention he has to see the guardian name and guardian contact number on emergency purposes. So as I mentioned in our functional requirement while saying adding a profile, child profile, these are the things which you need to be mentioned. So this is a supporting prototype, supporting mockup for that particular functional requirement. And then verification status update. See, this is a QR code scanner where you can scan, and if it is if it is valid, you're ready to go. This is the page which it comes up. And account creation verification flow. As I said, the process which I said, you have to register with your government ID. I welcome to the app, it shows. And when the verification, you have entered it, and if you have entered a valid ID, it says verified. Okay, if it is taking a lot of time, it say if your review is under process. And if it is not having a valid verification has not happened, it should display message saying that rejected. So these are the few things for the account creation functional requirement which we have discussed before. So this is a supporting mockup for that. So you need to give all the supporting mockups for all the functional requirements and the flows which you have mentioned over there, which helps the developer to understand better. And then if you have used glossary of terms, this is an optional. If you have used any of the terms that everyone that there is no that people need to know, so you can mention them. And if you have any related documents like your business cases or BRDs or any links which you have used to write few functionalities in this document, you have to mention them as well. So this is the functional requirement documentation that is very important for the business analyst to understand and prepare. Hope you all have got a better idea about functional requirements and how they need to prepare now. Thank you very much. Let's meet in the another session.